such a great story. This time around in Author's Corner here on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney, we have Scott Allen Curley with us. His book is called Absolution, The Dark Path to Light. We had such a great off-air conversation. He's such a jolt of inspiration because of what he overcame, what he has to offer, and what he's doing right now is so fascinating. Scott, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate.
So let's talk about, first of all, your background, because you're a self-made millionaire, but people would say, oh, that's unlikely. I'm sure a lot of people said, no way is this going to happen for this guy. So let's talk about the beginnings of your life and some of the things that happened to you, how you kind of fell into this bad gap.
Wow. Well, we would need more than 9 minutes for that, but I'll give you the elevator pitch. Basically, I was raised in a very dysfunctional household. I was adopted, and everything was about impressions and image. So I was kind of raised to focus more on the outside as opposed to the inside, which left me pretty emotionally devoid and missing a lot of, I think, important parts as a kid, growing up. So I kind of created this alternate persona to get me through. And so I just created this world and this image of myself of being kind of overly everything, overly confident, overly popular, overly athletic, per se. When all along I was just completely lost in who I was as a person on the inside. And it was a conflict that I struggled with my entire childhood that kind of spilled into early adulthood, where it came to a head. And that's when things just really went upside down. I got in trouble I started doing drugs, got in trouble with the law a lot. Never did anything violent or sexual in nature, but was stealing cars and radios and all that. And ended up going back and forth to jail. And ultimately got sentenced to prison for a 35-year sentence for auto theft. And that was a reality check. That was one of the things I could not talk myself out of.
Wow. So you fast forward to, you come out of prison, all of that, and now you're the co-CEO of Finish Line Tax Solutions, and it's one of the nation's largest tax relief firms. You live on a ranch outside of Dallas. I mean, you have this wonderful life. So tell us about the book and what made you write it, and what can people expect in Absolution, the dark path which you describe, to light? Well,
it took me years to build the courage to write this book, because there was so much self-inflicted trauma in my life, plus external traumas, not only, with self-esteem issues, identity issues. I didn't know who I was, didn't know where I belonged. Then, of course, I'll go to prison 4 times. I spent 10 years in prison. And then once I get out, I'm told that I can't get a license to do this. I can't do that. I can't own a gun. There's so many things that a person who has been to prison cannot do. But it did not change the fact that I felt like I still owed it to myself to try, or deserved it. So I had to change my mindset from asking why and go into asking why not. And that is what kind of started leading me down the path of pursuing my own goals and dreams, despite what they were telling me or society was telling me I couldn't do. I have a way of looking at the world that is somewhat different from what I hear other people say. I look at the world and I see opportunities in obstacles. So what that means is every single thing I do, I have to do it outside of the box. Everything. I can't get an apartment in my name. There's certain types of banking activities that I can't do. Certain type of loans, they look at your background and your history. And although it's 30 years ago, it will still just categorically disqualify me from some of the basic things that the average person can do. So what I've had to do and what I've trained myself to do is to think outside of the box, because I'm not going to accept the fact that I'm not worthy nor entitled to opportunities just because you tell me I'm not meaning you, Kate, of course. But so I pursue things not because you say I can't, but because I say I can. I just have to find creative ways to accomplish my goals.
All right. So this book, by the way, is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever great books are sold. One of the things you told me is success is in your line of sight. And you said you couldn't accept being a victim. There's such a lesson in this for so many people. So when people get your book, what can they expect? What will they learn?
Well, they'll learn that my life has been a wild ride, and the vast majority of the challenges that I faced were self-imposed. I'll be the first to admit that. At the same time, I absolutely, unequivocally refuse to take a victim stance. I'm a firm believer in owning all of my shortcomings. We got to own them. If we make a mistake, I don't use the word failure. I use the word shortcoming, because a failure is only a failure if you stop trying. Muhammad Ali said that you don't lose when you fall down, you lose when you stay down. So we don't fail. It's not a failure if we hit a shortcoming or if we find ourselves in a self-imposed problematic situation. We fail when we quit and we stop trying to move forward and move past it. So I see I see those situations as being opportunities to learn from and to grow from. And that's the one thing I think folks should take from the book, Absolution, The Dark Path to Light, is to not confuse barriers with obstacles. A barrier is something that you cannot get through. Prison was a barrier. I couldn't get out until they let me out, However, barriers are not as abundant as obstacles are. We all face obstacles, but we tend to view them as barriers. An obstacle is just something that you have to work around. And once I really started understanding that, then it really just opened up all sorts of opportunities for me, because an obstacle is an opportunity. Because not only do you work around it and you learn something, but it makes you stronger. It makes you more creative in the way you think. So I welcome I welcome obstacles.
Well, I love that. Barrier is different from obstacles. That's a huge takeaway, like you said, I think, for people reading this. All right, tell us about your company and how did that all start?
Yeah, we started this company. I was homeless, actually. When you read the book, or for those of your listeners who choose to read the book, a perfect storm had developed literally in my life that rendered me homeless for 58 days. And I have a friend, his name's Brian Gordon, who was in a very catastrophic situation also, and we grew up together. But he knew that I knew this industry, and he knew I was good at sales and marketing, so he was able to come up with $2,000. And he told me, he said, Scott, man, if I come up with $2,000, you think you got one more in you? Because he knew I started a company like this before, and it did well, and I sold it, and it's still in existence. So I said, Brian, if it can be done, we can do it. So we took the $2,000, and I had people in my ear saying, man, because I was in a little cheap, cheesy Motel 8 hotel, kind of seedy, and there were folks in my ear like, man, you just get a job. You got a roof over your head for less than 2 weeks, and you don't have money. Take that job, because I was offered a job to sell timeshares with a base salary of, maybe $500 a week. That made no sense to me. I felt like I have an opportunity. Yes, it's $2,000, but I know me and I know what I'm capable of. And it could have been $200,000, because I had zero doubt that it would succeed. I was so confident that I turned down a quote unquote real job to start a business while being homeless with $2,000. So despite what everyone said, we did that. In the first week, we turned that $2,000 into $10,000. The next week, we did the same thing. 3 months later, we had a little office, and in the first year, we did about $1 million, and we've doubled in size every year. So we got honored by Inc. magazine last year for being one of the fastest growing companies in the country. I think we were ranked number 1304 out of 34 million companies.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a ride.
It has been a ride. And finally, when you look at this and then you put this all together in the book, that had to feel good to see the book, to be able to touch the book, to put your life in these words and then share them with other people and spread your wisdom. Does it feel really good?
It does now. It does. It was very emotionally draining writing this book because I was forced to face and remember and revisit so many dark places that I'd been. And so I had to get a little hand-holding along the way, but I knew that if I'm going to write an autobiography, then I have to be real. I have to tell the truth and cut no corners. Otherwise, it's a work of fiction, you know. and so it took years to build the courage, but I felt like, and I was told actually, that it would be selfish of me to not write it, considering the extreme transitions that I've made in my life. So that was what really pushed me over the edge to go ahead and write it. Because had I done it, I couldn't have done it or may not have done it just for myself. But when I was told and was reminded of how many people need to hear this and may benefit and learn from it, that's what made me do it.
Yeah. Perfect place to end this. Absolution, The Dark Path to Light. Scott Allen Curley, what a delight. Pick this up, Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever great books are sold. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate.
Visit www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com. Call us at 877-600-5469. Subscribe now.